Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Just Unsecure. As usual, your host, Babz, and co host,
Oh,
OO. This month, we have a guest that will be talking about cybersecurity and AI, and what? Focusing on Africa. Before we go, and before I introduce our guest, don't forget to subscribe. Our guest, no other than the founder and CEO, Oluwaseyi Akindende, the CEO of Hyperspace and Neural AI. Welcome to this session, Shay.
Thank you very, very much. It's such a pleasure to be a part of this wonderful discussion, and I'm excited to be here. So I say, bring it on.
I
I, li-
like that.
I like that attitude. Bring it on. Please go ahead, Babs.
We're talking about AI and cybersecurity, but we're focusing on Africa. But before we even delve into the subject, I think most of our viewers want to know what's hyperspace and neural AI. I think, and you, what makes hyperspace neural AI and you unique to be able to even, focus on the area of AI. So please just, give us some background about yourself, about hyperspace and AI.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for that question. You see, I have been a technology person all my life. I'm a technology person through and through. And funnily enough, for a huge part of my professional career, apart from it being in startups, I spent a majority of it doing cybersecurity work. And the cybersecurity work I did was from the offensive side of it. So I was in the white hat community. I was a penetration tester. So we were always hired. We were always given the license to actually help organizations break into their networks, break into their applications, and then find the loopholes, and then obviously report on it, and then remediate, give them some kind of remediation on it. But you see, that role for me was a consulting role, so it simply meant that we were always on the job. So after a while, I then realized that, of course, around about 2016, 2017, we started hearing about emerging technologies like obviously machine learning,
Hmm.
artificial intelligence, and more importantly, blockchain technology. While a lot of people were looking at blockchain technology from the financial angle, we saw that there was an aspect of it that was security based that you could actually leverage for cybersecurity. Because on the blockchain, you have we have cryptography. That is the best use case for cryptography that I've ever seen. You can use it for things like identity and access management, because it no longer has to do with maybe usernames and passwords that hackers could steal, or social engineers could actually social engineer off you. So we now came up with an idea to say, could we leverage this technology to substitute, what we currently have? And I give you an example. So right now, every time you want to log into any online application, whether Google or your bank, you use a username and password. Now the challenge with that is, when they built all this kind of system, they didn't build security in. So that's why they came up with something like a password that you use. But if you think about it, a password is something that you know. Now, in
Correct.
cybersecurity, they tell you it is about protecting something something that
Something
you
you,
have, and something that
something
you
that you
are.
have.
Now,
Yeah.
if you look at the password, is something that you know. Then they now built a security on top of it, which is something that you have, like an OTP, for instance, token, and all those things that when you log in, they now send you a token, maybe to your phone or to your email. But if you look at that token as well, you'd also realize that if somebody has access to the token, in fact, what was happening in Nigeria here, in Africa here, is when somebody has your password, they log in and they send a token to you, they will now social engineer you and call you as if they're calling from your bank to say, look, we have sent you a token now. Please read out the token for us. And a lot of people were falling victim to it.
Yes,
Even though it was
exactly.
supposed to be a security that was supposed to protect it. But and if you look at it, a token is also something that you know. That means that if you hand it over to somebody, they are going to use it against you. Then they now came up with another one, which is biometrics. which is something that you
Yeah.
are.
Hmm.
Now, have you also noticed that if you are using your phone and you want to use your biometrics to log in, if it doesn't work, what happens? It has a fallback to a
Password.
password
That's what, yeah.
or
Your
so
pen.
if you look at those three things, they are essentially a derivation of something you know, because
Hmm.
at the end of the day, it's still a code that somebody. So when I looked at the blockchain, now the blockchain now has something that we have never seen before. Unlike with username and password, the blockchain actually uses public and private keys. So it has no concept of username and password. So what we now decided to do was to harness that to say, when you go, like with your bank now, I'm sure you have a debit card or an ATM card that you use to withdraw money.
Hmm.
So we now decided to use that technology, NFC technology. Say we can not only use it for payments, we can also actually use it to say, when we tie it to the blockchain, we can put your login keys on an NFC chip that is resident in a card, and then you can now use it to authenticate. Since most mobile phones these days now
Yeah.
come with NFC readers, so we got a patent, for it.
Wow.
So we're able to, yeah, we actually have a patent for that technology using Web3 and blockchain based authentication. So, because you now have a key, which is like a physical device, and you have your mobile phone, which you have to combine. So, the key, I don't know if I can, I don't know, I don't have it there, but it's like your ATM card. So,
Yeah.
when you want to
Oh,
log in, you use your camera to scan a QR code, then it now tells you to use your private key, which is on that card. You tap it against your phone, and then it now logs you in. That way, you are not it's
fantastic.
completely passwordless. So you don't have a username, you don't have a password, there's nothing to steal. For a hacker to steal your identity, they will need to steal your phone, they will need to steal the card, and you now, even in that process, have a multi-factor, because you need the phone and you need the card, for you to authenticate. So that's what Hyperspace is doing. That's the product we are bringing, to the market, leveraging that technology to solve the cybersecurity issues that we have. Then coming to neural AI. Neural AI is our startup. Is about 9 months old. We started it in January, and we started it to. Funnily enough, before coming on air, and I was discussing with OO, and he was telling me about how companies are struggling to use AI,
Hmm.
over there because of data. So what we now decided to do is to say, now there is everybody's using Chat GPT and all these models that now in Nigeria here, in Lagos here, in Africa here, we have proprietary data. So take for instance a law firm. They
Yes.
have agreements. They have, case files. They don't
Yeah.
want to upload the case file onto Chat GPT.
TPT.
And so we now built a system we call Bionic Box. So it is like an AI box that sits on your network. You upload it with data. We train it on your own data, and your staff can
Perfect.
connect to it, and then you can use it to make, intelligence. So you can derive data from intelligence. Another thing is, if you are, I know that over there are a lot of things that have been automated. In Nigeria here, if you go to the ministries, you go to the all these agencies, and a lot of the data are still in manual form. So you still have
Yes.
paper. So for instance, if you buy a land now, everything documentation is still paper, handwritten. So we now said there's a way we can digitize all that, feed it into an AI, and then make it, electronic. So we have AI that can also do transcription. So once you feed it, it transcribes your manual data into electronic form. We put it behind an AI, and then you train an AI on it. So that is what we have also, doing with neural AI, and that's how we've been able to, affect the markets.
Oh,
Wonder.
fantastic.
Wonder.
That's a lot. That means what you're talking about is ringing bells in my hair there. A hedge, that means the bionic on premise, load data on it, automatically read everything, and then you don't have to train the public AI on your private data. And also the
Absolutely.
one you mentioned, which is really key, is the fact that even you are doing more like a vision solution to upload documents and then train it. I
Fantastic.
that leads me
Absolutely.
to the next question, right? What is the adoption level of the? I know the company is still young, 9 months, but you talked about the one with the NFCs. What has been the adoption level in Nigeria at the moment?
Yes. Back here, we have whenever there's a new piece of technology, a lot of the companies, a lot of us back here, what we typically do, especially the companies, is they wait for the thing to go mainstream in other areas before
Mm.
adopting. But when I was, a lot of I read a lot. So one of the books I read one time was on Henry Ford when he was going to introduce the internal combustion car. Back then they were used to horse-drawn carriages. Nobody could visualize that.
Yeah.
They have cars that with engine because there were even no roads. So what he decided to do was he wanted to build the cars, but he knew that for him to build the cars, he needed to build roads.
Yeah.
So he partnered with local councils and government, and he built, was building roads so that he can now, when he starts to build the cars, there will already be roads and it will be easy for people to adopt. And that is essentially what we have been doing as well. We have been laying foundation, we have been building the roads for a lot of this technology. So what we are doing is a lot of capacity building, a lot of sensitization, a lot of training for people to even know that there are technologies, there are alternative technologies that you can use within your infrastructure, within your environment. So a lot of what we are doing now is mainly awareness, capacity building, holding training sessions, holding demo, sessions for people, doing proof of concepts, to let people know that there's this technology. There are even a lot of technologies that, and that's actually one of the reasons why we got a patent for it as well. When we had the idea
Oh.
of that, we actually filed for a local patent and we're able to, in fact, we have two patents. The other patent is on product. Yeah, in Nigeria here in Lagos, there's a lot of counterfeiting. So you bring in, I mean, we drink a lot, all this champagne. You bring in, but they counterfeit it. So how do you know that the champagne you are buying, or how do you know that the spare parts of car you are buying is actually, or the, a lot of them. So we got a product authentication using the blockchain, where you also use a microchip. So every product has its own product identity. So we link a microchip to the blockchain, to an address on the blockchain, and you can verify the authenticity of any product, that you buy, for things like drugs, for things like food, so those are some of the things we're doing. But like I said, the adoption is still, I would say, about 2%, in fact less than 2%, because the market is wide. But you see, for
Yes.
people to adopt, they need to be comfortable in, that product. Another issue we found is skills. So no matter
Yeah.
how much you bring in new technology, companies want to be sure that if we deploy it, there are skills, there are hands, there are people that can support us in, implementation, in support, in all these things. So those are some. So we are also building. So we are partnered. That's why if you look at my LinkedIn, you see I do a lot of, radio programs, TV
Yeah.
programs, sensitization, talking to people, letting them know. Awareness is generally educating, not just the consumers, even the people that are going to use this product. So that's the process we are actually on now. Or it has, we can say, well, the adoption is still low, but we know that once the education, people already understand what they want to do, the adoption will just skyrocket.
Okay. I think looking at your background in cybersecurity and looking at your interest in AI, because I want us to focus now on the topic of cybersecurity. From an AI perspective, what would you see? From an AI perspective in Nigeria,
Yeah.
what do you think AI can bring to the table from a cybersecurity perspective? And if not Nigeria, Africa as a whole. Let's go wide.
Fantastic. Very funny that you'd ask that question, because one of the products we've just launched is actually a cybersecurity based AI solution. So you find out that in over here, if we narrow it down to Nigeria here, we have companies are beginning to have cybersecurity operations center. So
Mm.
Yeah,
we have MSSPs
Suck.
and all that. People manage SOC centers, and then the
exactly.
problem we see is that number one, there's a lot of skills gap. Now, because there's a lot of skills gap, despite the fact that we have all these operation centers, we still have proliferation of attacks. So banks, financial institutions, government agencies are still under constant threat. And the problem we've seen is that not that the cyber city operation center, the MSSPs are not seeing this data, but the data is overwhelming. So they have log management, they have SIM, security information and event monitoring systems, they have endpoint detection. But you see, the data that is filtering through is too much for a naked eye to see. It's too much for a human being to put together. So what we decided to do was to put an AI that will allow people to be able to do things like threat monitoring, data correlation, threat intelligence, threat hunting. Because now AI, and you see, one thing that AI does very well, it does things faster, better, and cheaper than a human being. So there are things that an AI will see that a human being will never see. So those are some of the things that we are seeing the use to which AI is being put in cybersecurity. So people are leveraging it for enhanced threat intelligence. So they are now getting intelligence from their unstructured data, and that is what AI works best with. So you can correlate data, you can put data from here, paper, and then it will automatically reconstruct an event and will give you insight into what happened, and you're able to better do incident response and security management. So AI is playing. Yes, we are also at the foundational stages here. AI itself is new. AI in cybersecurity is even newer. So again, like I said, we are at the stage where we are partnering with SOC centers, SOC operations to deploy some of these AIs that will help them in solving this critical problem of cybersecurity.
That is
Oh,
that
yes.
is an interesting part because most SOC analysts and incident response team, they are overwhelmed with data, and some of them
Absolutely.
are just noise. And when you manage the normal SIM, that is where the problem is. You have a lot of noise. You really want to get an actionable insight into something. So that is why other organizations are looking into XDR, MDR solutions, and what
Exactly.
have you, which also the SOC providers and MSSP are looking at. And I like the way that you talked about implementing AI to shorten that time of reactions and also being able to detect incident. One area I would like to go to for the level of AI, is there any regulation, legal construct in Nigeria at the moment that frame that, as you know, there's need to be a responsible use of AI.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there's any law in Nigeria, and if someone like you that is part of in today's is part of that regulation, or is it completely outside of people like you that are leading at the forefront?
Oh, thank you again for that question. Funnily enough, the good thing right now is that before now, you find out that a lot of the office holders were more of square pegs in round holes. But now in Nigeria, we have ministers, especially in the tech ministries like the NITDA, National IT Development Agency, as well as the Minister of Communications and Digital Economy. They are young people. They were practitioners before. They were also operators. In fact, the minister used to run a tech hub, a tech innovation center, where
Yeah.
all these are Paystack, Flutterwave developed. So he has hands-on. So right now, and then there are also younger people that understand the problem we're facing. So they are now ones now putting a lot of these policies in place. So with
Perfect.
AI now, I think last month or about a month ago, the minister called all Nigerians, whether you are in Nigeria or in the diaspora, called them together. In fact, majority of them came in. They went to Abuja, and he said, "Look, we want to build a national AI policy, for the
Fantastic.
country, like
Perfect.
data and all that." And he wanted input, from people. Like if you have input, you are a lawyer, you are a data protection private, you are a cybersecurity person. Bring your ideas together. So last month, I think they were able to launch the draft copy of the national AI policy, and this is a policy document that is going to guide the use of AI and how to use it, and it's going to take into consideration things like biases, things like the data quality, and a lot of all those things. So right now, yes, but it is still a new thing. AI itself is actually new, but in this aspect, it's still a new thing. We're reviewing the document, everybody is going through it. There's the comments where you can comment what you think. And the main good thing about the minister is if you go to LinkedIn and you just follow him, Bosun Tijani. I mean, he's the kind of person that if you comment, he will respond to you. If you DM him, in fact, if you have an idea, you can post it, and there's a chance that they would look at it. If it's something that they want to, they can even call you to come and be a part of, the deliberations, and you contribute. So that's the governance, at least in the technology. So it's enhancing, the policy development and the regulation as well. So we're all building the regulation together. So it's not the kind of regulation that they just bring. We've gone through this process, especially with blockchain and cryptocurrency, where they were banning it, they were unbanning it. There was no policy because, they were not
Yeah.
sure which industry should handle it. Should it be central bank? Should it be NITDA? Should it
Yeah.
be Securities and Exchange
Yeah.
Commission? But now there's now a policy framework. We after a long time, but for AI, they are now, they are starting it on a good footing, like that. So we're not going to have that kind of problem.
That's very interesting because I follow most of the policies that are out in Nigeria. So I know there's the digital transformation policy. I know there's the public, okay, not the public, digital transformation policy and the artificial intelligence policy. But we should all be realistic. For me, there are lots of gaps in terms of skills in Africa, not just Nigeria. What can be done to bridge the gap in terms of AI and cybersecurity? AI is the hot cake now. Cybersecurity is still there, and not everyone is fully on board about cybersecurity. Now we have AI.
Mm.
You now bridge that
Hmm.
from a Nigerian or African perspective to be able to get people to see again skills. But how do we bridge that gap?
Well, that is the $1 billion question. How do we bridge, the
Yeah,
skills gap?
I can imagine.
Well, from two perspectives, there's something the government is doing, which, as laudable as it is, there is no, there's almost as if they do it and then there is no follow up after. So there's this thing that the minister instituted when he assumed office. They call it the 3MTT. That's a
Yeah.
3 million technical talent. So they wanted to be able to train 3 million Nigerians to have technical, cybersecurity and AI skills. Now,
Mm.
question is number one. For you, you see, cybersecurity and AI skills are not skills that you have when you are not even digitally literate. So you can't just pick a mechanic from the road and say you want to train the person in a technical talent. So cyber training somebody in cybersecurity and AI presupposes that you are computer literate, you are
Yes.
digitally included, you understand even certain fundamentals. You can't be talking about cybersecurity and you're mentioning IP address and the person doesn't even understand what you're talking about.
Exactly.
So that's one of the conundrums I have, that if you're going to be training people on these skills, there has to be foundations that they already have before you say you want to train them. But in Nigeria here, of course, they need to score political points as well. So they will just gather people, train them, and give them certificate. And after the training, that is it. Number
Mm.
one, you are not when they after the training, there is no way by which they can continue upskilling. So when you come and learn cybersecurity, you can after you have finished, there's no way they have not set up a park, a technology park where you can go to. Number two, we all know that cybersecurity and AI, you need equipment, you need
Yes,
laptop, fast laptop,
absolutely.
you need fast internet, you need servers, you need data. So if you have trained somebody on AI and the person has finished and there's no laptop, he doesn't even have a laptop to work with, he doesn't have data to work with. When he goes back home, there's no light. In a month or two, whatever they have learned, it becomes useless because they
Mm.
can't practice it.
Mm.
So those are challenges that we have, and that's why we still don't have the skills gap in the private sector. And now, if you've been watching, some of the my last interviews and videos that I've made, I've been an advocate of, look, we need to decouple in Nigeria. If you want to now build the technical skills, we need to leverage our tertiary institutions, our higher
Mhm.
learning institutions, our
Absolutely.
polytechnics, our
Absolutely.
universities,
Absolutely.
even, and that the computer science curriculum as we have it should also be completely,
Overall,
decoupled, should be, broken into AI, cybersecurity, blockchain, and all these emerging technology, software development. There shouldn't be anything like computer science as it is because of our own our peculiarities here. So that's what I've been an advocate of, for you to now build it. So as you're entering university, at least you have the foundational skills to learn software development, to learn cybersecurity, to learn AI, to learn Web3 and blockchain, to learn in IoT and all that. And then so that when you come out, it now becomes easy for you to integrate into, that's the only way you can shorten. There is no country in the world. I always give the example of Singapore. When they had a new, prime minister, there were only two things that he said. He said, and that's another problem we have in Nigeria now, is the language barrier. So, for instance, everybody has to speak English. So if I want to learn AI, I have to learn AI in English. If I want to learn cybersecurity, I have to learn cybersecurity in English. But when you go to the north or you go to the east, where there are people that are intelligent, but they don't speak, they're
English.
not fluent in
Arabic.
English. How do you teach computer science in Igbo? How do you teach computer science in Hausa? So if we have that, let's say we have people who can teach, which is another use case for AI. So there's
I,
AI now
I
that
was I
somebody
was
can be.
I was about to say that, like,
Yeah.
that's another use case.
So normally what happens here is they have to get somebody who can speak English and Igbo. Say somebody wants to teach mathematics now, or computer science. So the person has to understand English and Igbo, and then also understand computer science, and then they take them to the east and train them. But if you think about it, how many people have that combination of skill sets?
Yeah.
But if I understand Igbo and I can teach I can teach computer science in Igbo, it becomes easier for me to teach people, which is why China is becoming an powerhouse. They teach them in their language, so you don't have to
Exactly. Even
convert it.
India as well. India as
And
well.
India,
So
you don't have to convert the thought into. So when you teach them in their language, so when they now learn English later, it becomes easier because they already understand, that concept. So it becomes a lot easier. Unlike when you have to first teach somebody English, master the English language, then you now use English to teach them. That's a long way, and that's why the
yeah.
educational system here, we don't get we don't get the best. So so in the private sector, what we're now saying is that we can now come in, even as a private sector participant, teach, embed all these technologies, curriculum, even if it's just a one semester thing. That's why if you look at my, social media, we are going to a lot of schools, from Lagos State University to
Mm-hmm.
University of Lagos to Yaba College of Polytechnic, will soon be in Caleb University, Covenant, and all those, so that, and then we also don't want it to be um, at the mercy. We don't want AI and cybersecurity to just be for a specific set of people that are technical. Because I will not lie to you, the best people in all these technologies did not even have a computer science background. One of the best programmers I've ever seen in my life is a lady that she read English language. And the first day she came in contact with Python language, she said, Shebi is programming language, and I read English language. I will apply the same principle of learning, language to a programming, and she became very phenomenal. She can write code even in her sleep, but she read English language. So I'm thinking to myself that
Oh,
I've been making a mistake all along, trying to narrow down, AI, cybersecurity to
Mm-hmm.
technical people. If you bring in people from, in fact, AI now, there's a law firm that is using AI. If you see the way these lawyers are interacting, they're using it for case generation, case file, case admin, clauses. Like, you would think, I'd be like, okay, so that means that this thing cuts across several industries. So what we are
yes.
saying is AI and cybersecurity have to be infused, because by the end of the day, everybody is using a digital device. As long as you can
Exactly.
use WhatsApp, everybody's using, Android, you're using iOS, you're using this. We're already technical, so we might as well infuse this thing in all the curriculums and then start to teach you, so that when people come out, it is no longer alien to them. They are not hearing AI and cybersecurity and they are thinking, oh, what are you guys talking about? So that is the only way we can solve, this skills gap. And another issue, obviously, is Nigeria is, apart from even that technical, there is also the economic factor. So once you
Of
learn a
course.
skill in Nigeria now, there aren't so many companies that, like for instance, how many AI companies are there in Africa? How many people can afford Nvidia equipment? All
Yes,
those GPUs.
GPUs and what have you.
Exactly. Mm.
Then number two, our power infrastructure. Do we even have enough power to even power some of
Yeah.
these equipment? A lot of these things we don't have. So once
And,
you
and
and
another area I think maybe it's another area, like something happened recently. Like I was in a chat, and what happened is somebody, they were employing a cyber security person, but they refused. They told this lady or this gentleman that they can't employ him because he doesn't have a computer science degree. And I think the education needs to be that you do not necessarily have to have a computer science degree to be good at cyber security or AI. And I think that we still have that notion that if you have to do IT, you have to do computer science. So
Yeah.
that is something
Absolutely.
again that education, we need to
Absolutely.
educate the HR people
Absolutely.
in all the
It's, it's,
organizations to tell
yeah, it's
them
actually the HR
cyber
people.
security is diverse.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I
It's
need to
actually
learn
the
a,
HR people that are
yeah, I need
making
to learn
that.
the word to that.
Okay.
I've been in cybersecurity at least for the past 15 plus years. My first degree is microbiology. So nobody should be stopped for going into IT. First of all, IT is big, cybersecurity is big, and it's an area of interest. It's not someone who read computer science a few years ago, and meanwhile, the computer science curriculum and not cybersecurity curriculum.
Yes. Exactly.
Most
Exactly.
of the time they are completely different, and you can pick
Exactly.
the skill, as you have said, that with an example of someone who has a background in English has been able to go on and learn programming language because it's a language. It is not a study, and it doesn't start. And learning in IT and cybersecurity do not stop when you graduate or when you get a certification. And that's another thing. Most people are looking also for certifications. And in the
Exactly.
US recently, right, the US is leading in this. It said you don't need a degree to be in IT and cybersecurity. US, I think few weeks ago, I read it. Like you don't even need to go to school. They didn't even say whether degree or not. You don't even need to go to school for you to
Mm,
be an IT or a cybersecurity professional. I think HR needs to have it. I think the best people who has made things out of IT and cybersecurity did not study it. Even if you look at the Bill Gates and all the other guys, even Mark Zuckerberg, all of them drop out of school and they did not even study computer science. So where did we get that from? So just to learn about that.
it's an African thing, which is actually why our own community we are championing. Like I said, my background too was in civil engineering. I got into IT by chance when I went to do my industrial training, and I saw the internet for the first time, and I was like, "This is." In fact, I always say that when you are, I even to like, okay, yes, we are blaming HR. But sometimes too, we can help ourselves, especially if people that want to get into cybersecurity, people that want to get into AI, people that want to get into a combination of these fields. You too, if you know that it's a limitation, volunteer in some things, do some things. This day and age of the internet, it's easy to prove yourself. If
Hmm.
I am very good in something, I can go and have a GitHub account. Let's say I want to do cybersecurity. If I want to do that, if I write every day on LinkedIn and I put my writing on GitHub and I want to go for an interview, any malware that comes out, oh, I study it, I write about it, I go online, I have a blog. By the time I write this month, next month, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, if I'm going for an interview, that would be what will speak for me. If I develop a script that can help me use AI to detect a worm that is, and I put it on GitHub, that begins to be something that will speak for me in an interview. So it will obscure what I study, because at the end of the day, you see, people are not looking, they don't, people are not looking to pay for your certificate that you have. They're looking for you to solve a problem that they have.
Hmm.
That's why in
Absolutely.
Nigeria, if you are driving your car and you are hearing one noise that is there, and a musibao wants to fix your car, you are not going to be asking him, "Do you have a degree in mechanical engineering?" You have a,
Exactly.
you're not going to. You are looking for a solution to the problem, and the guy can fix your problem, whether he speaks good
That's it.
English or he just
That's
that's
it.
not. You just want the car to be fixed. If the certificate person cannot fix it, you get to Musibao, and Musibao fixes it. Who are you going to pay? It's Musibao. Now, so at the end of the day, it is problem solving that we need. We need to de-emphasize certificate. Certificate is a means to an end. It's a means to get your foot in the door. All the
Absolutely.
things we learn in the real world, they barely teach it. Which school is teaching AI now? Which school is teaching blockchain technology? Which school is teaching cybersecurity the way it is practiced? So we need to de-emphasize that and emphasize practical problem solving skills in human, which is why I like Elon Musk's theory of education. He said the way we are doing education, even all over the world, is allowing people to be. That's why a lot of the people that you said they dropped out of school because they did not find. Mark Zuckerberg went to school. Bill Gates went to school, and he
Yeah.
was finding out a lot of the things that professors were teaching him. He already knew, and he was even already applying the same thing. Mark Zuckerberg, the same thing. All these, billionaires in tech. He now said that if we change the educational system and do reverse education, what does that mean? It means that now, let's say you are studying engineering, and let's say, and then you want to learn. So now, what they typically do is they will be teaching you a screwdriver, they'll be teaching you spanner, they'll be teaching. But he said, no. If instead of teaching somebody the tools, why don't you bring an engine to class? When you bring an engine to class, you now tell the person, okay, you want to decouple this engine. Okay, how do I decouple it? Oh, I need a screwdriver. Then that's when you now know, okay, screwdriver is used to decouple engine. So you learn about screwdriver in the process of decoupling engine. When you are learning how to read the meter, you learn, okay, I need to understand how this. But in the school system, they first teach you the theory, which is why, if you look at how you learned how to drive, for instance. When you were going to learn how to drive, they didn't give you a manual to say, oh, this is identification of steering wheel, this is gearbox, this is accelerator. The day first day you went in there, they put you in the driver's seat, they gave you the key, you started it. It was when you started it, they say, oh yeah, accelerate. You start accelerating. This is brake, this is this. By the time you do that, and then you start driving in a straight line, then after a while, you just realize that without necessarily studying. And that's how education should be. Not that they will give us theory, 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 and at the end of the day, you find it difficult to actually, which is what is happening in cybersecurity a lot. There's so many people with certification. They have all CISSP, CCSP, CEH. Then you now bring them to lab. You just give them, oh yeah, this is network here. Please help yourself. Let me trace the log file from here to here. Tell me what is happening. Connect to my Wi-Fi. And they start to look at you. They can't do anything, but they have all the certificates. So we need to de-emphasize all that, which is what we are doing as well. We're trying to say technology is, like you said, is not at the purview of, it's not a computer science thing. Anybody can get into cybersecurity today, and become a phenomenal. The people that are doing AI today, they were not doing AI 5 years ago. The guy that started OpenAI, Sam Altman, he was not doing AI 5 years ago. He was in the process of what he was doing that they discovered, AI. The people that started blockchain, they were not doing AI. The people that started doing cybersecurity. Even everybody that is doing cybersecurity as a technical person did not start with cybersecurity. A lot of us started as systems administrators. We were
Yeah.
administering directory, we were managing servers, we were managing gateways, we were configuring routers. But it was as cybersecurity came, we just found our way into it, and that is how it should be.
I think you hit everything on the head, as in all the everything you've pointed out 100%. I want to actually go. You said that at the end of the day, people need to re-engineer themselves, but I'm going to try and bring it to the future, like in AI and cybersecurity. Now, from a African context, what are the future trends you actually foresee from an African context?
Yes. Now, the truth of the matter is that there are two aspects of it. One is we just finished talking about the skills gap. I
Yes.
think AI can help us. So because now you find out that the reason why a lot of people are even scared to get into cybersecurity is that they feel that they need to there's so much that they need to know, they need to learn. Now, with the advent of generative AI, and you see, the challenge we've had before is that we had Google. So if you go to Google and you just tell it to give you something on threat intelligence or threat analysis, it will give you pages. You see up to, so you not be confused. Which
Yes.
one, by the time you open this link, some people have watched all the YouTube videos, but yeah, they don't know anything. But with AI, generative AI now, I can easily go to Chat GPT and I can I'll describe my peculiarities, my personality to it. I say, look, I want to learn this. Give me a course content that I can use to learn this thing, and it will generate. So we can use it to fast track the knowledge of getting people into AI in Africa. So it will help them fast track. So it will help us. So instead of spending 1 year, 2 years learning something with AI now, we can actually use AI as an educational tool. In fact, we are championing the use of AI for educational use in Nigeria, because it now makes it easy for somebody to quickly become not an expert, but at least by the time you spend 2 or 3 months, you'll be able to get on board. So
Yeah.
that's the first one. For second one, in the area of cybersecurity, we see that it is going to dramatically reduce the amount of time people spend, watching logs and interpreting logs. The challenge
Yeah.
is that here the data is overwhelming. It's completely overwhelming. And then you now find out that a lot of people are using different cybersecurity products. So they're using from here, from here, from here.
Okay.
Yes.
And then
Yeah.
when you use different cybersecurity products, you have to master different syntax. So if you're using Splunk, you have to master their query language. If you're using QRadar, you have to master. So right now with AI, with just your natural language, you can just tell it. In fact, we demoed one of our products one time, and we just plugged an AI into it. You just ask it a question, a simple question like, give me a summary of the security incidents that happened in my logs in the month of August. And it will go in a chronological order, be giving it to you one step at a time, just using that. In fact, you will describe it, whether there is a malware, unlike with all the technical terms that you need to even first comprehend. You will describe it, point to the IP address, point the location, the phishing, the email, everything. So it allows you to even able to do faster incident response, without having to understand all the intricacies and nuances of all these enterprise products that they are using. So it's going to be phenomenally draft down the time people spend on understanding, cybersecurity data. So thereby making you more secure, making you a lot more, preventing you a lot more from the attacks, and even giving you a lot more insights into the data. In fact, you can even start to use it for as predictive sort of system, whereby from past data you can start to predict what could possibly happen, in future, and start to, safeguard against it. And obviously in things like data protection and all that as well, it is going to phenomenally, save cost and save a lot of human energy.
I couldn't
Thank you.
agree with you more. There's a like we are doing a platform that is focused on ethical hacking. Like I'm not sure if you're aware about AfriHackBox. We're launching that. There's going to be like an ethical hacking on the 28th, 29th of September. But we're actually launching a platform that actually deals with ethical hacking and cybersecurity training. And what you talked about is like putting Gen AI to be able to, teach in Igbo, Hausa, Yoruba was something that we're actually looking at as well. So I just want to say this session was very, what you mentioned there, resonated with me, and I'm sure to resonate with most of our viewers. Sorry, I just wanted to put out there. Oh,
No,
so but
Great.
I didn't want
no,
to lose track.
Fantastic effort.
no.
Yeah, that's
That's fantastic.
fantastic innovation.
So that's actually the second side of my question, which is on collaboration. Like, because we know you are doing a lot, but when it comes to scale, you just talked on previously like only 2%, 1%, and that is Nigeria. That could be a lot because Nigeria is
Hmm.
it's a big country. Now even scaling to Africa, Africa is really big. So is there a
Hmm.
collaboration across Africa? Of course, with AfriHack box and Just Unsecure, that is what we hope. That is what we are working towards, collaborating with people like you and some of that. What are the level of collaboration in Africa that you've seen around AI and cybersecurity?
Another great question there. You see, the thinking that we have in Africa, which is why, and it's not just whether it is in technology or not. If you look at companies in Nigeria, Africa, once the person that starts it dies off, that company collapses, because we
Hmm.
don't have a culture of collaboration, culture of building the next generation. We're always thinking of self, self, self. Everybody wants to be, you want to, so you don't want to, and you can't blame them too, because we lack a lot of trust. If you look at
Yeah,
companies abroad, you see companies, Steve Jobs died, and Apple is still one of the biggest companies in the world.
exactly.
Look at all these big companies, Mastercard, Visa. You don't even know who started them, but they're still existing. But when you now come down to Africa, you hardly find a company that is started by an African, maybe that the man has died and is still existing. If the company is still existing, it's because the owner is still alive, other than maybe the ones that were started by the foreigners. So we need to imbibe. It needs to be culture. It needs to be something that they train on. And you see, the problem again, it comes back to our educational system. The two fundamental things in life that you need to succeed, they don't teach us in school. Number
Mm.
one, they don't teach us the art of collaboration. So when you are in school, you have to do your assignment by yourself. You can't talk to anybody in class. It has to be you. No talking. No, if you talk, they tell you have cheated. So you come out with that mindset that your success is only by your power. So it's
Mm.
only when you pass. But you see, ability to pass exam and coming out with first class in school does not translate to real life. So if you don't teach them in school how to collaborate, how to say, look, if I'm in a computer science department and my own skill set is hardware and your own is software, we can come together and build a product. And your own is cybersecurity, we can build a team and say, okay, we can form a company. You will do hardware, you will do software, you will do cybersecurity, and you specialize in your skill. But in our schools, they teach you have to be the one that will do the hardware, you do the software,
Do
you do the
software.
cybersecurity, you do the operating system, you do the support. So you come out thinking, so you don't think about collaboration. Whereas abroad, you find out that there is no course you do. They put you in a group. In fact,
Yes.
some of your passing score is that your contribution to a team is even like maybe 50% of the entire score, because they want to build the collaborative aspect, because they know that there is no way you can succeed alone. So you come out when you now have an idea. That's why in America and all these places, there are a lot of people with venture capital. They don't have idea, but they have money. But they know that if you come up with the idea, we can collaborate. I will put money into your business, you will put equity, and we will build something, and we will both make it together. So they don't teach us in school. Another thing they don't teach us in Africa here, failure. They punish failure. So if you fail, you will repeat. But you see, in life, it's not like that. You have to fail at so many things before a lot. If you look at Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, there are so many things that they failed on that we don't even know. We only see the ones that they succeed
They've
at.
succeeded.
You know,
Yeah.
the one that, and you see, the good thing about success is you can fail 1 million times. One success like this can make you become, so if we
Exactly.
can imbibe that collaboration. So what we are also doing, if you look at our platforms, we have collaborated. In fact, right now on our product, a newer AI product, Bionic Box, we have collaborated with companies in as far away as Australia. In fact, what we are doing is we are seeking out Africans that are in the diaspora, that we say, look, let's build this technology together. Let's not just be consumers, consuming. Every time they bring cybersecurity, we don't contribute to the knowledge base. We don't contribute to the protocols. All we do is we just implement.
Use it.
They say there's
Consume it.
GDPR. Oh yeah, there's PCI DSS. There's ISO. Oh yeah, how many? How many? Why can't we develop a local based ISO standard that will cater to our own
Absolutely.
local environment? Why don't we do that? But because everybody wants to be the champion, they want to be a Namiduan, but it doesn't work. So we are partnering, we are collaborating with companies as far away as Nigerians, Africans, leading companies in Australia, in America, in UK, in Europe. So we are partnering. So we are actively seeking out partnership, because they say 10% of a big thing is better than 100% of nothing. So it's
Mm.
better,
Absolutely.
to
Absolutely.
just be a part owner in something big than to be a full owner in something, small. So we are actively championing collaboration. We don't mind partnering with your good selves, with your products and services as well, or with your company, and then we build together. Because at the end of the day, it's about impact. What can we do to affect, like this ethical hacking thing now? It's going to do a lot, because again, if you're in cybersecurity, how do you practice? How do you practice what
Exactly.
you have learned? Yes, we
Right.
have places where you can go and foreign, and then after a while you won't, you can't continue. You want to do something. But if you have something that is permanent, that I know I'm thinking of, that way in the practice, you will be surprised that some people can even be, discovering some of these vulnerabilities. They can be even be discovering some of these, people. There are people that write antivirus signatures now. How do they write
Exactly.
antivirus signatures?
Exactly.
Take a virus and a malware, you decompile it, you look at all the traces, and then you come up with a signature for it. But you need a platform to you to do that. If you don't have a platform, even if you have the idea will die in your head. So with this kind of thing that you guys have put up, it is going to help a lot of people, leapfrog, that stopgap that they are, that bottleneck, and they will now be able to become more productive and learn a lot more.
Good.
Fantastic.
For me, I think I will. I don't know if you have anything else, but I wanted to go into something more personal.
Please go ahead.
Everybody watching this will be inspired by you and should be inspired by you and what you're achieving in Nigeria and Africa as a whole. But what most of our audience will always want to know is how do they become or what should they do to even become like you and inspire our audience, our youths, or people that will say, look, I like this guy, but I want to know what I need to do to be like this guy.
Hmm, that is a big one. You see, I don't know how it is in Europe and America and other places. In Nigeria, in Africa here, we have a microwave mentality. That means that we want to achieve everything within a short period of time. So I
Hmm.
want to learn cyber security, and I want to be an expert. I want to learn it in September of 2024, and I want to be an expert by October of 2024. No, it doesn't work like that.
I'm put it on my LinkedIn.
And
I'm
exactly.
experts.
So they don't want to learn the nitty gritty.
Pretty.
They want to learn the surface and put on their CV and get a job in, multinational and say, oh, when if you want to actually learn and, as they say, be like me, let me tell you what helps me. Like I said, I read civil engineering. My 1 year of NYSC, I did not work in any organization. There used to be a bookshop in CMS called CSS Bookshop. I went
Yeah.
to that bookshop. The first monies I made, I did not buy a car. I did not buy clothes. I wasn't partying. I took that money. I went to buy books. That time there wasn't. It was 2000. We didn't have internet like this then, so you
Hmm.
could only read via books. I went to buy books on operating system, on networks, on system administration, on network administration. I wasn't even focused on certification. I just wanted to know how the internet work. What makes it work? What makes me now? Three of us are in different locations. What makes
Yeah.
it possible for me to be in Nigeria, you to be in another continent? In fact, we are on three different continents, and yet we can talk three different time zones, and we can all hear ourselves. So I sat down for 1 whole year. I poured my
Mm.
heart into it. I poured my soul into it. The money I got, thankfully, I had a mom who was able to afford to buy me a computer, that I could plug to a dial-up internet when I started learning.
Hmm.
I wasn't looking for a job. I didn't even know at that time whether this internet was even going to be this big, but I poured myself. I made sure that I understood what I was reading. I made sure that I wasn't like, oh, you would ask me a question. I read and reread and practiced and practiced and practiced. And when I finished, the first job I actually did was for free. I just wanted to have an experience.
Hmm.
So I went to this small company. They gave me a contract role. So I learned how, the
Mm.
real world. Now that I've learned theory, I now went into the real. I wasn't paid a lot of money. It was, in fact, at some point, what used to happen was that the head of IT of that company, at the end of every month, he was giving me allowance from his own pocket, from his own
Hmm.
salary, while I was administering. So what I did at that time, you see, this a lot of our young people, I don't think they're that patient. What I did
Yeah.
at that time, in that company, that time, they had two departments and they were in two different buildings: operations and revenue collection. So when the operations people do the Excel, everything, they put it in a file. That time they had a network, but there was no way to transfer the file across networks. So they'll put it on a diskette. Then somebody has to go from that building and take that diskette to
Mm.
another building. So if the file corrupts in the process and the buildings were far apart, you come back, recopy. So what I did, there used to be a Microsoft command called net send. So I just
Hmm.
used it to build a graphical user interface where you say, before email, this was even before emails came. I just say, you instead of going putting this file on diskette, I just upload this file. The person that you just tell the person via intercom, what's your IP address? It will just automatically deliver that file to the person. So I built it as even the company didn't know that it was me that built it. So after like 3 or 4 months, when I could no longer, I wasn't getting paid, and the guy who was giving me the allowance too, he wasn't really giving me and transportation. I now said I wasn't coming again. So apparently, a week after I left the company, they had a problem with that the transfer thing that I built for them. So they now wanted to solve it, and there was nobody there. So the MD
Yeah.
now said, how come nobody can solve it? And I said, sir, the
The
guy
guy
that
that
built
built it.
it, he wasn't working for us. They now said, go. That was how the MD said, get him for me. And that was how,
Wow.
one was able to get, it was a long journey, and that was how they won't ask you whether you have a degree in when they wanted to solve a problem
Yeah,
and you are the
exactly.
only one that can solve a problem. And that's how, I got started and all that. But at the end of the day, it was the knowledge that I have. You have
Hmm.
to have knowledge. You say, I
Hmm.
put something on my LinkedIn about 2 or 3 days ago. I said, look, you see, if you want to succeed in life, you have to know the knowledge, what you can do, not what the certificate says you can do, not what people think you
Absolutely.
can do. What you wake up and you tell yourself that if you leave your country, like if I leave Nigeria today and I find myself in the Sahara Desert with only a laptop, what can I do?
I do.
That is
Hmm.
the only thing that matters. And you have to, and just like with a building, the first, the initial place where you spend a lot of time and energy is at the foundational layer. You
Hmm.
see, if you want to build a skyscraper of 10-story buildings, what do you do? Is a foundation that will carry it. And the foundation is that thing that you do not see. You can see a 10-story building and marvel and say it is beautiful. But you see, that foundation, you will never see it. But that is the most important part. So building the foundation. So anybody that wants to get into cybersecurity, you want to get into AI, first of all, look at your temperament. Are you a technical person? If you're not a
Yeah.
technical person, you can do governance, you can
Hmm.
do risk, you can do compliance. If you're a technical person, do you want to go into the line of ethical hacking and penetration testing? Or you
Engineering.
want exactly, or you want to go into security operations, blue teaming, log files, malware detection, and all that. Once you analyze that, then get yourself, mentally involved. Buy books, go online, read, watch YouTube videos, practice, set up labs with this kind of technology you guys are bringing in about this ethical hacking lab now. Register for it, use it every day. At some point, you see, it's like Warren Buffett calls something compound interest. If you keep saving, let's say every month you save £10 or $10, $10 every month. At some point, you just wake up and you find out that you have $1 million, and all you have been saving is just 10 $10. It's the same thing with knowledge. It's the same thing with education. You can be learning one concept today, one concept today, one concept today. Before you know it, you just find out that you have become an expert in that field. But it is a foundation. So if you want to become like this, you need to invest in education.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Wow, that's that's how to lay it out. You need to invest in it, and if you are in this industry, whether it's IT or cybersecurity, you will
Mm-hmm.
know that there's no day that you probably will not need to learn something new. So and put it to practice. It's not static. Now we're talking about AI in cybersecurity. We're talking about these
Yeah,
are
well,
changes
what
that
she
are
has even
happening.
said is that basically there's no shortcuts.
There's no shortcut.
There's no shortcut
Yeah.
to AI and cybersecurity.
Yeah.
You have to put in the work. You have to continuously put in the work. This is something that evolves and evolves and evolves, and you need to be on top of your game. We're all on top of our game. That's why we're here trying to pass down the knowledge. Yeah, and we keep reading, keep trying out. Again, failure is just a way to make yourself better. So don't be scared to fail. Continue and try again. So, oh,
Absolutely. Well said. Well said.
So last question from me, Shay. If anybody want to lay hold of you, where? If anybody want to connect to you, where is the best place to connect to you?
The best place, and I'm very, very, very active on that platform, is LinkedIn. Just search for my name as you are seeing it on the screen. I think there's only one Sheyi Akindende, you know. So just search for me on LinkedIn. I write a lot. I do a lot of videos, educational videos, because I know that you have to inspire young people. They are not like our own, set of people that that it takes time. You have to be
yeah,
patient. So I do a lot of videos to encourage them. That's why a lot of our job, a lot of people don't know that when we go to some of these universities, they're actually our own personal investments that we used to do these things. Sometimes
absolutely.
we have to sponsor some of these their programs. Because we know that they need mentorship, they need people, they need to. And another thing we've seen in Africa is that it's easy for somebody to want to be like Davido, or be like Whiskey, or be like Burna Boy, because that's all they see on their screens. Those
Yes,
people show them. But if professionals too tell them that, you know what, you can actually make it in cybersecurity as well.
Hmm.
You can actually become an AI specialist and drive, a Range Rover. But they don't see those kinds of things. They only see people doing Yahoo and all these entertainment,
and
and then they say, oh, maybe then that's why a lot of kids now, you see them doing dreadlocks. They want to do music. They want, because they see it as the only way out of poverty. But if more people that are in the professional sector, if you are doing cybersecurity and they see that this guy is doing cybersecurity and he drives a G wagon, this guy is doing cybersecurity and he lives in Manhattan, let me. I think there's road there. So we need to speak more of our own achievement, more of. So I use LinkedIn to talk about, so that when people come there, you see that the only path to success is not through music or through football or sports and all that. You can actually make it even better if you have the intellectual capacity. So I'm always on LinkedIn. I don't think there's a day I don't post on LinkedIn on my feed. So if you want to catch up with me,
I
go
see you all the time.
on LinkedIn. And yes, there are some things. Depending on your interest, I write about a lot of things. If you're in cybersecurity, you find a lot of cybersecurity content. If you're on AI, you find a lot of content on AI. If it's just general technology, and even if it's on life, hacks, how to, because I grew up dyslexic. I'm not a book person. That's why I don't have certification. Check all my profiles. I don't have one single certification. I only wrote one certification one time when in 2020, in 2000, 2000, CCNA and MCSE. And after that, because I'm not book smart. But guess what? I have a right brain. I'm creative. That's why I have two patents. And you know what it means to have a patent? It means that
Hmm.
you have, So if a lot more people are able to do that, I can guarantee that the future of Africa will be set in stone.
Fantastic.
Thank you, thank you. That's a good way to round up the session for today. Oluwaseyi Akindende, the founder of Hyperspace and Neural AI. We want to thank you very much for this session. It's been very, very helpful, and I'm sure the audience and our viewers would love every minute. In fact, every second of this session will be taken to us. And we'll say that everyone that listens to the entire session, you will agree with me. You are one of a different breed of Nigerians
Yep.
doing the right thing in Nigeria. So thank you very much for coming on the show. Oh, do you want to say anything?
No, I just want to say that if someone is listening to this, make sure you lay hold of Shay, as well as make sure you share this with other people who need to really know. The need for people in cybersecurity and IT is non-negotiable. There are more people that are needed. The fear of AI replacing you is is worse than you not being in it. because
Awesome.
the AI cannot do some things that you would do. AI is an enabler and you need to be part of it. So if you need someone to share with, if you need to get on board on AfriHackBox event and also join our platform, please go ahead. It is still free of charge. Come
Yeah.
on. Come on
We're
board.
NGO. We
Learn.
do this for the love of it.
For the love
So
of it. Come on, join. Take your time. Be patient. Learn. Use your hand. It's going to pay a lot of dividends. That's what I have to say.
And I also want to say a very big thank you for having me. It's been a wonderful, I mean, I think I've made two new friends, and I'm sure our conversations will carry on, outside the show. So thank you very much, OO, and then thank you very much, Babs. It's been a
Thank
pleasure of mine joining your program.
Thank you so much.
thank you so
All
much.
right. All right
Okay.
then. Take care, man.
Thank you.
Bye bye. Yeah,
Yeah.
cheers.
Babs.
Woo, that was a great conversation. And oh, I think this is one of, again, another great session with another great guest. Like, couldn't say, I couldn't, it was every little second was back to back. AI, cybersecurity, what is going on in Africa, what's going on in Nigeria, how this will improve the educational system, this will improve the labor force. It was, for me, I liked it. It was
Definitely.
incredible.
Yes, there's a lot of ideas that Sheyi threw out on this. I'm going to personally watch and rewatch and rewatch and rewatch and take note on this because it threw a lot of ideas out that
Yeah.
he's currently working on. And definitely, I'm going to connect with him after this recording. There's a lot that we need to talk about, and it's really a good time. Thank you.
And if for all of you watching, if you watch this far, don't forget to
Subscribe.
subscribe. Thank you all until we meet again. Bye from us.